Back in the day in 2004, I used to visit my friend's home and we would play World of Warcraft together for the Horde. Sorry, I always wanted to say that. And I was like playing on an Orc Shaman, and at some point I also made a Troll Hunter. And it was like really, really broken back in the day with like those racials and stuff, and some were like really weird. If I'm not mistaken, it was like that, like Troll had to have like a low health to get like a certain benefit or something. And it was like 20% health or something, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, today we're gonna have a look at the history of troll racials in World of Warcraft, and a lot of stuff got changed also like on Blood Elves and many other races. So today we're gonna have a look at all the troll changes that happened over the years.
In this video, we're going over the history of the racial abilities of the trolls. We will start off strong with one of the best racials in the history of the game, Berserking. It went through a lot of changes over the course of vanilla. It started off as given a fixed increase to attack and casting speed, but could only be triggered while under 20% health.
What did I say? This is exactly what I meant. You had to be on a low health to even get this, right? And like so many people were actually like complaining about that, and that's why like a lot of people wanted to play rather on an orc than a troll because of that, right? And then at some point like it changed, and then a lot of people switched to troll.
And had a 2-minute cooldown. In patch 1.22, it had a minor bug fix as shamans were able to use it even while not below 20% health for some reason. Shortly later in patch 1.4, it was reworked, where it now increased attack and casting speed by 25%. But it increased your damage taken by 10%, and instead of only being usable below 20% health, it could only be used after you were critically hit. Although in the very next patch, it was clarified in the tooltip that they meant melee critical hit. Finally, in patch 1.9, it was reworked again to what we all recognize it as in Classic, costing either a bit of mana, energy, or rage, whatever you had it. It was also raised to a 3-minute cooldown from 2 minutes, to fit with its missing health theme.
But this is when troll became a meta on some builds.
30% based on how much health you were missing for 10 seconds. This change also took it off the global cooldown, allowing you to macro in with your other DPS cooldowns, making it quite a powerful racial. During vanilla, most of the higher end players were on the Alliance, but through the years on private servers, this ability was theory crafted to perfection, where in PvE, trolls would take off all their gear to decrease their maximum HP. Then put it all on right as the fight was about to start, and because your health wouldn't automatically increase when gear was put on, they would then pop the Berserking right as the fight started to get more value out of Berserking, and maybe even get a second use of it depending on the length of the fight.
I feel like all MMOs have these nowadays in common. Like, just look at freaking New World, for example. Like, a game gets released and it's full of freaking broken stuff that needs like multiple patches to be fixed. Like, that's how gaming companies work. They make a game and then, oh, deadline. There may be some issues, but hey, let's release it anyway. I mean, it wasn't as bad with World of Warcraft. Like, there were just few issues like that. But like some other games like New World, OMG. Like, this game was like literally butchered by the community. Like, seriously.
Although this may really anger your healers.
Like, so much negative
days,
feedback.
The classic community speedruns raids, so some fights don't even last 1 minute, let alone 3. But this is still a fun interaction. Moving on, we have Regeneration, which was very good back in the day. It gave you a 10% to your health regen in combat, while also overall increasing your health regeneration by the same amount. The best PvP use of this is rogues who can vanish to gain a bit of time to get some health back while their enemy sits stunned. But in PvE, it is quite a nice little heal to ease.
It was also useful while questing,
even if the heal overall was incredibly minor. It is also fantastic for questing, as back in vanilla, health regen was really low. So slow that melee classes often needed to eat food every 2 to 3 pulls.
And this is something that pisses me so off when I'm like leveling a new character. It doesn't matter if it's like freaking Season of Mastery, TBC Classic, the old school Classic. Like, each time you play like on a melee, like a warrior for example, because I also play like a warrior a lot on the classic version of WoW. And the issue about warrior, for example, is like you constantly, every few mobs that you kill, you need to interrupt your questing to sit down and eat some food and stuff. And it's just so, like, it takes so much of the grind fun away, in my opinion. Like, I know like some people are like, oh, retail leveling sucks, you barely get to experience the game. Like, in a few days of questing you're already max level, and that's true. Like, it is way too quick now, everything in retail, but at least you don't need to interrupt your progress constantly. I hate to interrupt my progress to always eat, kill 3 mobs or 2, then eat again. Like, Yeah. So on Troll, you actually could like level a bit faster because of that. So if someone was like making a Troll warrior, let's say, and someone Orc warrior, like you would easily be 2-3 levels ahead on the Troll, like at any given time. And so at some point you would even like out level by like 4 or 5 levels just because of this here.
That meant this extra generation allowed trolls to level faster than others, and while it was only 10%, it does add up quick over the time it takes to
Yeah.
level. Funny enough, the racial was thought of as useless originally in Vanilla WoW, and its value wasn't really gleaned until Classic developed a meta. Next up, we have the Beast Layer, and this also helped increase leveling speed slightly. What it did was increase the damage the troll dealt to beasts by 5%.
I don't think
Although
this
there
was
are not
that
many beast
useful.
mobs in endgame content for
Yeah,
vanilla,
exactly.
it did at least
I
have
think
some
this is
uses in
underwhelming.
AQ, Nax, Molten Core, and a ton of uses in ZG at least.
Yeah, I mean,
Lastly, we have
anti-rush.
throwing and bow specialization, which increased the troll's throwing and bow skills
I think
by
that's
5
why I made a hunter
respectively.
back in the day.
Like
'Cause I
other
read
weapon
that.
racial skills, these made your attacks with the chosen weapon less likely to miss. And while throwing weapons were more of a minor thing, almost all the best endgame weapons for hunters were bows. This made trolls the best hunters for Horde and PvE content.
Yeah.
In addition to trolls having the highest space agility out of the Horde races, and second only to Night Elves as a whole.
And that was the issue with like making characters and stuff. There was at some point a time where the population on the Horde side was way higher than on the Alliance side because there were like tons of guys. Because like we have to keep in mind that throughout the years from 2004 and upwards, like the internet became a big thing when it comes to gaming, and you could like Google every single bit of advice, right? Like, hey, how do I level faster? What's the best gear for my class? This and that. And then like so many guides would say, make a troll, make a troll, make a troll, or go orc, especially like for like PvP, like orc. There was like no, like now orc is still very strong, but there was a time where like orc was crazy broken for PvP, and of course like Forsaken, because you can literally get out of fear and stuff like that, right? But there was like a meta where a certain race would be so overpowered that the population shifted, and this was a big issue back in the day also when it came to like realm, like server population, right?
As a whole. There is only one change to troll racials in the Burning Crusade, that being a rework of all weapon skill racials. This included throwing and bow specialization. Range skills like
This
these
no
were
longer
changed from a
exists.
+5 weapon skill to a 1% crit increase while using the weapons. Meanwhile, melee weapons were changed to just give some bonus expertise. Wrath of the Lich King saw a few more changes than what the Burning Crusade provided. First off, a new racial was added to the trolls called the Voodoo Shuffle. It passively decreased the duration of all movement and parent effects by 15%. This worked on roots and snares, but oddly enough not stuns, as those remain the domain of the orcs with their hardiness racial. Berserking also saw a couple of
PvP
changes in the
meta.
expansion. First, in patch 3.2, it was changed so that instead of giving scaling, attack, and casting speed buff based on missing health, it gave a flat 20% to attack and casting speed instead. Although yet again, the tooltip for it was incorrect,
But
so in
still-
the next patch they fixed it to show its proper effect once again.
Okay.
The Cataclysm saw no changes to the troll racials, so let's move on to the following expansion, Mist of Pandaria, which had
happened here?
two. First off, we
Two
had the
changes.
removal of throwing weapon specialization. Obviously, as Pandaria was the expansion when thrown weapons were removed entirely from the game. Bow specialization was
you.
also replaced, but at least it still existed in some sense, being renamed to Deadeye, a version which now gave trolls expertise with guns, bows, and crossbows by 1%. Now onto Warlords of Draenor, there were actually quite a number of changes to
Big
racials.
changes
First
happened.
off, Deadeye was removed as a weapon skill.
Isn't it like the expansion that changed World of Warcraft the most? I'm not sure if it was either Warlords of Draenor or Legion. I'm sometimes mixing both up. But it was either Legion or Warlords of Draenor that completely changed so much also about the classes. Like Warlock got like a big rework. No, I think that was Legion, right? Or was it Warlords of Draenor already? I'm not sure. But there were like a lot of class reworks and race reworks in one expansion. It could have been this one here.
Racials. First off, Deadeye was removed as a weapon skill, as hit and expertise were removed from the game. And with these changes, Blizzard no longer wanted to lock certain specific races into specific weapon types.
That's
Beast
good.
Lane was changed so that instead of increasing damage
Stuff
to
is
beasts
more
by
universal, you
5%,
can do whatever
it
you
now
want.
increased experience gained from killing beasts by 20%, which may be a slight blow to their damage output, but it now at least directly increases their leveling speed, and made leveling in beast-heavy areas faster. Berserking was also
that's
changed
way
to
too
now
niche
give
anyway, it doesn't
15%
matter
haste
that it's
down
gone.
from 20%. It is now also called haste instead of attack and casting speed, although it has pretty much the same effect. And followed by patch 6.2, the Voodoo Shuffle was buffed by 5%, now reducing the duration of movement and parent effects by 20% rather than 15. And the troll racials have not really changed much since BFA. However, what did happen in Battle for Azeroth was the troll racials actually played a very important part for the race to world first on Jaina. You see, Jaina had an ability in the fight called Chilling Touch,
Wait a second,
which
where's
she would
Legion?
stack on the whole raid with a number of abilities, and if it ever got to 20 stacks, then the player would be frozen solid and have to be
I think
DPS'd
he
out
skipped
by the other
Legion.
players.
Or were there no changes
The
in
way to
Legion?
manage this was by using flame barrels and by triggering the freeze at times when the raid could break you out together. However, the stacks technically counted as a snare. So, the racial Voodoo Shuffle would lower its duration by 20%, which meant troll players had the option to just let the stacks fall off by expiring.
Yeah.
This obviously wasn't supposed to be an option for managing the stacks, but it made parts of the fight so much easier that top guilds paid for their entire raid team to race change to
What the heck? Who would pay for that? Like, seriously, okay, I mean, it's faster, it's easier, but why would you, like, freaking pay for that? Like, hey, I'm the guild leader of raiding guilds called so-and-so. Here, I give you, like, how much was it then? Like, 20 euros or so? Is it, like, how much is race? I think it's, like, around 20 euros or so. It's like, hey, you know what? I'll give you, like, 20 euros. You can freaking, like, race change now to troll. And once a new expansion comes out, do whatever you want. Like... Who would actually pay for that?
trolls just to deal with the Chilling
crazy.
Touch mechanic easier.
I wouldn't pay
leading
for
to
that.
a world first kill by Method,
like
which
this-
thankfully was an option available to both
Oh,
factions,
Method did
as
it!
Alliance were transformed
Really?
into Horde for this fight.
They paid their members?
Later on, Blizzard changed this so trolls couldn't gain this advantage anymore.
Method.
And since then, there haven't been
Oh,
any
wow.
real changes to troll racial since. However, going back to BFA quick, with
That's
patch
interesting.
8.1.5, the Zandalari trolls were added
Wait,
to
what
a
happened to
growing list of
Legion?
allied races.
Oh.
And while the racials have not seen any adjustments,
They're the ones
they
I want
were
to
added
unlock.
to the game as the troll allied race, so we'll cover them here now, as they have not been around long enough to get their own video. First off, they have City of Gold. This is a passive ability that gives the Zandalari 2% more gold when they loot anything. Super
Wow.
simple and rather nice too.
That's
There's even
useful.
an add-on to see how much extra gold you get when looting mobs. Next up, we have the Pterodact Swoop, which on a 15-minute cooldown gives you the effect of the Goblin Glider with the pterodactyl visual, which slows your fall and lasts for 2 minutes while flying you forward. Next, we move on to
But
the
that's
combat
useless.
racial.
Like,
First,
you
we
never
have Embrace
need
of the Loa.
it.
To understand this, it requires a bit of background. Trolls as a whole worship these beings called Loa, and by doing so, they're granted boons, including the Zandalari Troll, which have various shrines to various Loas within Zuldazar, their major city.
I actually think this is so cool about the Zandalari Troll. How you can choose like a god here. And with this god, you get like a blessing. And this blessing is like a racial passive. Like imagine all races were actually like that. Where you can go for like a certain, like almost like a sub-race. Like let's say you're a human and you're like a, let's say there's a group called mountain humans, sea humans or something like that. Like those that live near to the sea, those that live in the mountains. And you get something like maybe physical damage reduction. So if you want to be a tank, you go for, let's say, mountain humans. And if you want to have like a haste buff or something by like 1% or whatever, then you go for like the I don't know, sea humans or plains humans or whatever. There is like, I think actually that's so cool about the Zandalari Troll. So if you like unlock them, you can actually pick one, and for certain classes and specs, like one is really OP.
This racial allows the Zandalari to
So
interact with these
flexible,
shrines
right?
and receive a permanent minor buff.
I think that's
although you
really
can only
great.
have one. The buff you get depends on which shrine you interact with Akunda giving healing spells additional healing, while Samdi giving damage abilities bonus shadow damage that heals for the bonus shadow damage
That's
dealt.
also not bad,
Gonk
right?
increasing movement speed by 5%. Kimball giving your damaging abilities a chance to cause your target to bleed for 6 seconds.
Kimball is
stacking
good
3
for
times.
warrior, I've heard,
Kragwa,
right?
which causes your max health and armor to increase upon taking damage, and Paku, which gives your damaging abilities a chance to increase your crit by 4% for 12 seconds. Yes, quite a lot
that's
of
good for
Loa, and
casters,
for sure
actually.
the coolest, most in-depth and customizable racial we've ever seen. While also being the ability with the longest cooldown in the game currently with a 5-day cooldown, and basically allows Zandalari players to choose which racial stat bonus they want. Lastly, we have
So
Regeneration,
flexible.
which is arguably the strongest Zandalari racial. What it does is, on a 2.5 minute cooldown, you channel for 6 seconds and regain 100% of your health. This can be interrupted by damage at least, however paladins who get low on it can pop a divine shield, and then use this to get back to full health uninterrupted before resuming the fight. On the PTR before
So
it went
broken.
live, this ability was going to be a 4-second channel that could not be interrupted by damage, meaning it could only be stopped with
It's good
some
that it
sort of
didn't come
CC.
out.
And with only a 1.5
Everyone
minute
would play
cooldown,
Zendararia,
which was so
otherwise
broken
we
that
don't
the
want
player
that.
base and Blizzard agreed
play
upon
just one.
nerfing it, leading to the 6-second channel with a 2.5 minute cooldown
Imagine
and
this was in
breaking on any
PvP.
form of
Whew.
damage. And that is the history of all troll racials from vanilla to Shadowlands. If you have any ideas for future videos just like this one, let me know down in the comments.
Oh wow, that was really interesting. Yeah, but I also remember this back in the day with like the low health on the troll to proc the one passive. Like, it's interesting how much has changed. If you look at like so many MMOs, how a game gets released and throughout like the patches, how they change stuff so much around. And if you look at like WoW Classic in comparison to retail and like all those racials and stuff, how different they are also on like Blood Elf and so. Like, it's fascinating. Oh wow. Like, this is so nostalgic, this video. I'm actually glad that this was like recommended to me. The history of troll racials in World of Warcraft. Very, very cool. So yeah, guys, should we check out like more old school videos about like racials, how they have changed? I think it's very cool to dive back in history and see how the game that we love playing today has changed over the time. Very, very interesting. And yeah, if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget hit that subscribe button for more content. And I'd also really appreciate if you like this video, this will help out with the YouTube algorithm. And I wish everyone a wonderful day. I will see you guys next time.